And before we started, I was telling Aaron and Teisha that I'm a mental health therapist, and although I specialize mainly with under 21s, because part of what I try to do is to make sure that the kids don't carry those traumas into adulthood and stuff. But I did see, Nikki, that you have in the past posted quite a bit about mental health and well-being, and how much of that have you has that been helpful, and how are people supporting on that?
I'm blown away. Shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Hit them with one, Teach, real quick. I'm blown away by the outpouring of love and support and encouragement that I've received throughout my career, right? You kind of get caught up. As I was joking about the R&B Divas thing. It's a beautiful show. So I do hope that you have a chance to see it in London. If not, you will see the future iterations that we are quietly working on. Okay. You heard it here first. But it's going to be a whole different thing. Anyway, yes, mental health to me is where it begins and ends, right? Because the decisions that we make in our lives are based on where we are in our minds, right? And our spirits, right? Because they kind of work together, spirituality, having a center, whether it is Jesus Christ, whether it is Buddha, whatever it is, meditating, whatever, finding a place where spiritually you're able to just calm yourself and work through the noise is what I think is the beginning of, that is what gives you the willingness to seek out mental wellness. And I think we have just become a world where mental health and mental wellness is a real conversation now, because everything was, they gonna think you crazy, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't talk about it. And as artists, you had to be pulled up all the time. And when you lose an artist like Whitney Houston to something as trivial as self-medicating because she was so, when you think about, and I'm not pointing the finger and I'm not blaming it, people get real funny and real touchy and real crazy when I say this, but I got to tell the truth. And if you the devil, shame on you. But most artists are just crying out for self-care. Most artists are just crying out for a moment to have mental wellness, to be able to be normal and a human being. So I pride myself in not being pulled up and perfect all the time. I pride myself in sharing those moments where I've created a lump in the side of my head from TMJ, from grinding my teeth and holding it in. It is unhealthy. It is unhealthy mentally, spiritually, physically. We are teaching our children really toxic habits, toxic masculinity. Our boys can't cry. You know what I mean? It's just so much that as a community, we were taught we needed to be and we needed to do in order to be upstanding citizens, right? Now we're discovering that so much of what we learned back in the day is some bullshit. Yeah. So we really are at a place where we can be transparent. And I think transparency and authenticity is what speaks to the heart. And if it speaks to the heart, it's going to be around forever, right? Even long after we're gone. So mental wellness is a very big priority in my life.
Yeah, as I'm one of the very few Black male therapists, and so you can imagine when you're standing in front of young people, and 95% of our referrals are from white girls who, when they struggle, it's as a family. Yep, let's go see a therapist. Within the Black community, it is very much of a no. We go to church, and we don't share our problems in public. So part of what I was doing with this was to get people to share about how they've struggled in the industry, but the positive side, but also to be able to use this as a platform to let other Black families to know that, look, it is something that it happens, and therapy isn't a white thing. It's a human being thing. And being able to not to just, you don't need to talk to your friend or the pastor, talking to a professional who's not going to judge, who's going to be able to help you dissect. And so that's part of what I always try and do towards the end of my interviews, is just to get well-known celebrities to share about, look, I've had a therapist and I understand it. And
one of the best things, not to cut you off, but that was one of the best I could have ever done. I went through a very traumatic relationship with my daughter's father, and I was depressed while in the relationship, and then during the pregnancy, and then so I was already depressed, and then after the baby, postpartum set in. So I had a double-edged sword, and I was in a very, very, very dark place. And one of the best things I could have ever done was to see a therapist. And I did. And just being able to share, I even said, here recently, I was talking to someone. I was like, I'm going to get through the rest of this year, but it's time for me to get back and see my doctor and have me some one-on-one sessions, because I just need someone that can kind of help me put it all together. So it was one of the best things I could have ever done. And I went to lunch with 2 young ladies last week. And the young lady she miscarried in May. And we were talking, and we were just sharing, as women can sometimes do. And I was just talking about, how, when I had my baby, how I was going through postpartum, and I went and saw a therapist, and it was like, that's when she connected to the conversation. And she said, "You did?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "I've been debating." And then she shared with me that she just lost her baby in May. She delivered her baby full term.
Oh, still.
And, she was, and just the look on her face, I told her, I said, if I can encourage you, if you take anything away from this lunch, I was like, I really would encourage you to go and talk to someone, because I could just see, I knew that there was something there while we were having lunch. We were laughing and kind of sharing, but she just seemed like she was just kind of in this sunken place. And when she shared that, it all made sense then. And I even followed up with her on Monday. And I told her, I was like, I want you, I was like, no pressure. I said, but I really want you to think about seeing someone, because that is definitely traumatic. And she's a young girl. She's only about 34, I believe. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh my God,
So,
I can't even imagine.
therapy. I do. I encourage it. Yeah.
It's interesting. Algebra Blissett, I had a conversation with her, and she was like, the elders would tell you to take it to church or talk to somebody. She's like, you need doctors. You need people with medicine. And the other part that I always, I started working out in the beginning of my career to lose weight, right? I want to be skinny. I want to fit in the right clothes. I want to wear the fashions. Then I started to realize that there's something called moving meditation, right? And I realized how much better I felt after working out. I felt like I'd accomplished something. It wasn't about, what I looked like. It was about having a minute to put on my either praise and worship or meditation music or whatever, and just unplug and really take care of myself, right? And that has become the thing that I think has helped sustain me through a lot of trauma and a lot of loss. Really putting it into exerting myself in the most healthy, in the way that is giving me the healthiest result, right?
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate both of you being open and kind, because as I said, I do always want when those who are watching to see and think that therapy isn't a white thing. It's
It's a human thing.
It is.
Like, you take care of your body, you have to take care of your mind, mental wellness, physical wellness. It all goes together.
Yeah. And globally, I think there's been this sense of, as Black people, we have to be strong. We don't show weakness. And unfortunately, what happens is that our young kids are the least likely to get support, but then our adults are more likely to get sectioned or in adult and adult mental health, because as kids they weren't taught to talk and to share, so they carry this up and they become adults, and it just becomes too much, and then they're facing depression and facing suicide and things, and they haven't learned how to handle it. So that's why hopefully we're teaching our kids differently. If our sons are crying, it's like, okay, that's, just let them cry and express themselves, and not to tell them, you need to be a man, you need to
man up. Yeah, right. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Oh, don't be a human being. Okay, right. Be a robot.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I want to thank you for being part of Halftime Chats. This new update is really about our membership, and I'm really excited to be able to fully launch the membership page. There will be things like full interviews from day one. As soon as the interview drops, you get access to it without any ads on it. There'll be some exclusive member-only videos that will just be some behind the scenes stuff and some other things that we will never be broadcast. For some members, you can be able to get actually 2 interviews, because I do have a backlog of almost 7 or 8 interviews that I don't even know when I'm going to be able to broadcast them. So you're able to get at least some of those up front, and some just behind the scenes stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scenes that I have never been able to talk about or release. For everyone else, you know, the videos will still be the same over a week or a week and a half or 2 weeks, depending on how long it is. So everything stays the same. The polls stay the same. The community chats, the community stuff stays the same. But I think with the membership stuff, I'm able to add a little bit more and invest a lot more time and energy in really supporting the members. So I do hope you come on that ride with me. I appreciate the support, and this will just help me continue to invest in taking things to the next level. Take care.
I